right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. Happy World Ocean Week. If you were tuning in yesterday, you know we kicked off an amazing series of live events in partnership with the Explorers Club. I'll share a quick link right here if you want to take a look, exploringbytheseat.com/Ocean Week. You can find all the events coming up. We've got 2 to 3, even 4 live events each day for the rest of the week. So do check it out. Register to tune in live on YouTube, watch the recordings later, and there might even be a few camera spots kicking around. So you can register for one of those if you want to join right in on the action. So yesterday's theme was the deep sea. We had an amazing day. We connected with Richard Garriott to start, the president of the Explorers Club, and he took us on his journey to Challenger Deep, the deepest point of our ocean. We hung out with Pete Gerges and his postdoc student, Andrea, who gave us an amazing tour of their deep sea lab and showed us some pretty cool preserved critters that they had. And then we wrapped up hanging out on the exploration vessel Nautilus. They're live close to Hawaii, Johnson Atoll, mapping regions of the seafloor that no one has ever seen before, which is really, really cool. Today, our theme is amazing marine life. And so we're starting off with sea turtles this morning. We'll be hanging out and learning about penguins right after that at 10 a.m. Eastern. And then 11 a.m. Eastern is octopus. And we'll also be making the big announcement of the students who won our octopus drawing contest. So you don't want to miss that at 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll also be hanging out with Chelsea, the Octogirl, which will be a lot of fun. As I mentioned, we're starting off with sea turtles. I'm so excited to have Callie Veelenturf hanging out with us today. She is a marine conservation biologist who is dedicated to ocean preservation. So sea turtle research has led her to various countries across Latin America, the Caribbean, and West Africa. In 2019, she established a nonprofit called the Leatherback Project, which is dedicated to leatherback sea turtle conservation throughout their global range. And we are broadcasting live from the Explorers Club in New York this week. And we're lucky enough to have Callie right here sitting next to me. I've got a nice fancy camera set up for her. So I'm going to switch that camera over right now. And we're going to bring Callie front and center for us. And she's going to take over for a bit. So here we go. Hey, Callie.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to meet you virtually. And as Joe said, happy World Oceans Week. I'm so excited to be here today to share with you a little bit about sea turtles and what I'm working on to protect them.
Excellent. Well, Callie, I've got your presentation queued up. We're going to let you take over for a bit. Right after her presentation, we're going to have a really cool Kahoot quiz. So I'm going to prepare that in the background. So get ready on your ends. Let's test our sea turtle knowledge. So we'll bring your presentation in and you're good to go, Callie.
Awesome. So as Joe mentioned, I am a marine conservation biologist, a National Geographic explorer, and a youth representative with the United Nations Harmony with Nature program. I also founded the Leatherback Project, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to protecting the massive leatherback sea turtle throughout its global range through research, education, and advocacy initiatives. So the leatherback sea turtle, as you can see on your screen, is absolutely massive. It's the largest sea turtle in the world and can weigh up to 2,000 pounds. It can also measure up to 10 feet long, so it's about the size of a small car. This species of sea turtle only eats jellyfish. And because of this, they help control jellyfish populations in the ocean, and they play a very important role in ocean ecosystems as a whole. There are 7 different populations of this species of sea turtle all around the world, and 4 of those populations are critically endangered. So my work mostly focuses in Latin America in an effort to prevent the extinction of this species from the Eastern Pacific. So what I'm hoping to share with you today is a little bit about a project that I'm currently working on in Panama. It was originally funded by the National Geographic Society, and how I started was there were these sea turtles that were tagged in Costa Rica with satellite tags. So a satellite tag is basically a GPS that goes on the back of a sea turtle. And every time the sea turtle comes to the surface of the water to take a breath, that GPS sends its location to the satellites. And then I get a ping on my computer and I can see where the sea turtle is. So we tagged these sea turtles in Costa Rica and saw that they went into the Gulf of Panama. As you can see on your screen here, there is an island archipelago called the Pearl Islands Archipelago in the Gulf of Panama. So when I saw that these sea turtles were traveling into the Pearl Islands, I was so curious to know what they were doing there and what other species of sea turtles might be there. So I proposed to National Geographic to go to the Pearl Islands for the first time to study sea turtles there and understand more about where they're nesting and foraging. So I'm excited to say that we found nesting habitat over 15 beaches so far where sea turtles nest in this 200 island archipelago. And on your screen here, now you're seeing a sea turtle track from an olive ridley sea turtle. Olive ridley sea turtles are vulnerable to extinction and they can be found all around the world. They're the second smallest species of sea turtle. And this is what a hatchling olive ridley sea turtle looks like. Hatchling olive ridleys are just about this big, maybe 4 inches long. And they come out in around 100 turtles from the nest and scurry to the ocean as fast as they can to avoid predators like seabirds and crabs. We also found nesting activity in this island archipelago of the endangered green sea turtle. This is an adult female green sea turtle here that had just finished laying her eggs on the beach and was returning to the ocean. What I'm doing in this picture is putting a small identification tag in the flipper of the turtle. These turtles have different scutes that are basically like nails, like fingernails. And we can put a small tag in the fingernail, it's kind of like an earring for us. And these tags have identification numbers and also a couple letters. And basically this allows us to identify that this sea turtle has been to this beach before. So if we ever come across this sea turtle with this tag, we'll know more information about her in the long term. So as I mentioned, green sea turtles are endangered to extinction. They're also found all around the world. And they're the species of sea turtle that feeds mostly on seagrass. Okay, so this is a picture of a coral reef in Panama in the Pearl Island archipelago. And this coral reef just isn't any coral reef. On my first dive here, I saw 12 sea turtles. So this is a place where nobody knew that there were sea turtles that were foraging here, using the coral reef as a nursing habitat. And then when we went there for the first time, we discovered pretty much immediately that it's a very important habitat for sea turtle species. And the sea turtle species that uses this habitat more than any other is the hawksbill sea turtle. So this is a picture of a hawksbill sea turtle on your screen. It's a juvenile, so this sea turtle is only about, the shell is probably about this long. And this turtle was probably only 1 year old. And hawksbill sea turtles are critically endangered to extinction, which basically means that if we don't change our behavior within the next 10 years, the species will likely be extinct in many parts of the world. So it was really exciting to find the species of sea turtle on this reef because now that we know that they're there, we can work to protect the species in this place. The way that we're doing that is going out at night when the sea turtles are sleeping. Sea turtles can be a little bit like cats. I don't know if anyone in the audience has a cat, but sometimes what cats will do is they might hide under a curtain and their head and their upper body might be under the curtain or under the bed or under the couch, but you can still see the second half of their body and their tail sticking out from behind the curtain. So you know that they're there, even though they think that you can't see them because they can't see you. And sea turtles are a little bit like this. So when they sleep, they'll stick their head under a rock or under a coral reef, and they think that they're safe, that they're protected, that they're hidden. But in reality, we can see the rest of their body. So we go out at night while the turtles are sleeping to catch them and cause also a minimal stress as possible to this endangered species. And I have a little video that I'd like to share now about what this process looks like of going out at night to catch turtles for research. Maybe we won't use the sound. So I'm just going to talk a little bit over this. So right now what I'm doing is I'm going out at night, and you can see I just spotted a sea turtle with my flashlight and diving down to catch it and bring it to the surface. So this process is extremely exciting because every sea turtle that we're finding on this reef has never been seen before by another scientist. So these turtles aren't tagged by any other program in the world. And it's basically a way that we're contributing now to the overall estimates of population sizes for this critically endangered species. We work with the local communities down on the beach right in front of the local community to collect data on the sea turtles and then release them back into the wild so they can go back to sleep. One of my favorite parts of this activity is working with the local kids from the community. We bring the sea turtles to the beach and allow them to come down, even though it's at night, to come down with their parents. And we basically give each one of the kids a job, right? So if we're going to tag the turtle, we'll have one of the kids use an alcohol swab and clean the area, or we'll let them help us measure the turtle, things like that. And it's really exciting to see the passion that these local kids have for a sea turtle species that lives right in front of their house, but they simply have never had access to seeing this type of marine wildlife. So for example, sometimes putting a glove on these kids is something that they've never done before. They've never worn a glove. So it's even, teaching some of the most exciting, biggest things to some of the most simple things. And we've had so much fun just working with not only the kids, but also the Army, Navy, and the Ministry of the Environment of Panama. So this is a video of a friend of mine, EDL. He's 11 years old, maybe the age of some of you in the audience. And I'm showing him how to hold a juvenile, small hawksbill sea turtle and release her back into the wild. Some of the other activities that we do with the kids are arts and crafts, environmental education, just helping to instill a love and appreciation for the ocean and marine wildlife with these kids in the local communities. We're also working with the fishermen in the local community to learn more about the movement of this species throughout the island archipelago. So I know the first sea turtle I spoke to you about was the leatherback sea turtle. And these are 2 videos of leatherback sea turtles being caught in fishing gear. So this is one of the major threats facing sea turtles that I'm working to combat here in the Pearl Islands. Basically, we're working with fishermen to try and make their fishing gear more sustainable and decrease the quantity of times that these sea turtles are getting entangled in the fishing gear. Basically, a sea turtle can hold its breath for up to 80 minutes. But some of these fishing lines and gill nets, the fishing nets, they can be set up for over 24 hours. So there's many times that a sea turtle simply won't be able to hold its breath while it's been entangled for a net for many hours. And unfortunately, they do drown. So this is something that my organization is working to combat. And I just also quickly wanted to show you a little bit about some of the other threats facing the sea turtle species around the world. For example, here we have an olive ridley sea turtle that was unfortunately harvested by local communities for consumption. And we also have examples of sea turtle meat consumption in the community. So this here on the right is the example of a shell of a sea turtle species. The hawksbill sea turtle in particular has a gorgeous shell that is often used to create spurs for events where roosters fight. It's called cockfighting. So this is another threat that the sea turtles face. And I've been working with the local Army and Navy to be able to decrease this threat to sea turtles in Panama. And it's been going really well. The Director General of the Army Navy has sent some of their armed guards to nesting beaches to help us collect data on nesting beaches, and also sent Navy divers out at night with us to catch sea turtles. So as I mentioned, satellite tagging earlier, this is a satellite tag you can see here on the sea turtles in the photos. And as I mentioned, these tags transmit the location of the turtle throughout the island archipelago that I've been studying. And this is really important because if we don't know where the sea turtles are moving, we can't protect the areas that they use. We can't minimize the interactions that these species of sea turtles will have with fishermen or with other threats that they may be facing in this area. So this is some preliminary data from some of those satellite tags. So you can see all of the red dots in this picture are times that a sea turtle took a breath in the Pearl Islands archipelago. So you can see that that turtle that's tagged in this map stayed mostly in the northern part of the island archipelago. And this is really important information because now we know this and we can protect that island in particular. We can focus our conservation efforts in this area where the sea turtle spends more of its time. So this is just one of the things that I've been working on. And this is an example of some synthesized data from other sea turtle species, shark species, and whale species throughout the Eastern Pacific. So you can see each one of the different colors in this picture represents a different species of marine animal, and they migrate throughout the region. So you can see that some of these species are going from Panama to Costa Rica, to Ecuador, to Peru. And this is really exciting information because it helps us understand that marine species do not know country boundaries. So we might have a marine protected area, for example, that just spans the country of Panama or just spans the country of Costa Rica. But the sea turtle doesn't know where it is or is not safe within the ocean. They're simply traveling throughout the ocean on their mission, either to feed or to forage or to migrate or to reproduce. And so this is really important information just so we can try and amplify our conservation strategies to not just be country specific, but also protect marine spaces in the entire region. For example, this is the Corridor Marino, or the Marine Conservation Corridor within the Eastern Pacific. And this is an international agreement that Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, and Ecuador are working on right now to protect the area between these 5 marine protected areas. So the Galapagos, Cocos Island, Malpelo Island, Gorgona Island, and Coiba Island. And my work is hoping to and working to extend this marine protected area between these 4 countries to the Pearl Islands, where we've recently found this important foraging and nesting habitat for sea turtles. Another part of our work is advocating with different government bodies for the conservation of sea turtle species and other marine wildlife. So this is a picture from a meeting that I had with the First Lady of Panama, where I was proposing a new law recognizing the rights of sea turtles, the rights of nature. And those rights are to exist, to persist, and regenerate, just like you and I have these rights within our legal systems. Right now, nature does not. And this is something that I'm working to change, specifically in Panama, and hopefully around the world. So this is another meeting that I had with a member of parliament in Panama. And I'm excited to say that just this past February, so around 3 months ago, the president of Panama signed the new law recognizing the rights of nature in Panama. And myself and the parliament member that worked on this law were invited to speak about this at the United Nations for World Earth Day this past April. So just to summarize a little bit of what I've been working on, I've been on 5 expeditions to the field, spent over 7 months studying sea turtles on the beach and in the water. I found 4 species of sea turtles in the Pearl Islands, 2 that are critically endangered, 1 endangered, and 1 vulnerable. I found over 16 new to science sea turtle nesting beaches, and over 3 new to science foraging ground for these species within the Pearl Islands. And my goals for the next few years is to continue to satellite tag these species to understand their movements throughout the East Pacific. So the photo right next to goal 1 on this slide is what a satellite tag looks like. And hopefully this information will allow us to propose new protected areas for these critically endangered species. We're also hoping to increase the percentage of the ocean that's protected and work with local communities to do so. This project will take around 3 years to create the marine protected areas that I'm hoping to propose, but I'm up for the challenge. And these are some of the different individuals that have funded this work in the past. And I would like to leave you with just another short video clip before we get into some questions. because we have. So the audio, we're having a little bit of feedback because we're actually together, which is exciting. But this footage is from the research expeditions that I've been conducting in the Pearl Islands archipelago. And I'll just leave you with this slide in case you want to reach out or learn a little bit more about the organization or what we're working on. You can email me at Callie@leatherbackproject.org or follow us on any of the social media channels that you see on your screen. And I'm really excited to hear from you guys. I want to know what you would love to learn about sea turtles. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
All right. Awesome, Callie. Let's make a quick switch here. We're going to jump into our Kahoot action. So I'm just going to switch cameras. Okay, there we go. All right. Well, Callie, great presentation. I'll just tuck that backstage. To our classrooms now. Let's see how well you were listening. Let's get interactive here. So I'm going to pop up a link here to kahoot.it. This is where you want to head right now. If you have one-to-one devices, you can join right at your desk. If not, your teacher could put it up at the front of the room and you could yell out your answers together. So lots of ways to take part. I'm going to share my screen and then we are going to go right live into this Kahoot. Okay, here comes our PIN number. It is 263-6072. 263-6072. If you have a device like a phone or a tablet, you could scan the QR code up on the right corner. That'll bring you in as well. So we'll give maybe 30 seconds or so, maybe a minute. I can see lots of students coming in to join us. So maybe we'll give it longer than 30 seconds to get everybody squared away. There's 5 questions today. There's some true and false. There's some multiple choice. You have 20 seconds for each question. If you get it right, you're getting points. If you get it right and do it really quickly, you get even more points. If you get it wrong, but you do it really fast, nothing. So you got to get that answer right, and you have to do it as quickly as you can. Wow, we've already got over 160 students, Callie.
That's so exciting. We got some sea turtle lovers in the house.
Oh my gosh. We might have to give it a few more moments to let everybody get in here and get squared away before we go live. That's good. That's good. It's good to see a lot of students. And because we have the names set for animals, they're all smiling sloth or gentle shark or glowing piranha. So we'll see which animal comes out on top. Yeah, I think we might go up over 300. We're going to have to give it another few more seconds. I don't want to leave everybody out or anybody out.
Caring penguin. That's awesome.
So right after this event, we will have Pablo Borborglou joining us, and he is going to talk penguins. That should be really, really cool. Okay, things have slowed down a little bit. Let's hit 300, then let's go live. Almost there. 5 more. 4, 3, 2. Okay, here we go. It's not slowing down. There's a lot of students out there who want to play with us today.
This is so exciting.
We want to get interactive. All right, a couple more seconds, and we've just got to go.
It's not slowing down, though.
It isn't slowing down. That's the problem. Usually we get a nice, things kind of slow down a little bit, and then we can get started. Okay.
Oh my gosh, it's still going.
That's good. I'm glad we have so many students joining us for World Ocean Week. Really cool.
Oh, the eager dolphin. I like that one.
Majestic bunny. Okay, that slowed down a bit. I'm just hitting start. Here we go. 3 seconds till we go live with the questions. All right. Question 1. I think it's multiple choice. Yep. What is the largest sea turtle in the world? So the largest sea turtle species. Is it the green, the hawksbill, the leatherback, or the olive ridley?
You got this. I believe in you.
You'll get it. That's the answers are coming really fast. Very cool. I've got a few more seconds. All right. Overwhelmingly leatherback. I think you said 2,000 pounds.
Yes.
That's wild. That's incredible. That's a big sea turtle.
Yes, it's impressive. When you see them coming out of the ocean at night, it looks like a small car just emerging from the ocean. It's astounding. Okay,
here's maybe something you can put to rest for me, because I've heard some people say the saltwater crocodile in Australia is the biggest reptile in the world. Some people say leatherback. Is that still?
So I think technically by length and weight, because crocodiles are so long, so they technically get the prize.
Okay, fair enough.
You know, in my heart, I would say for like surface area to weight, the leatherback definitely gets the prize.
It's a big ocean out there. We haven't weighed every leatherback.
I know, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's take a look at our scoreboard. Ooh, classy echidna. I like that. First place right now, but a lot can change with the rest of the questions. So we're going to jump into a true and false. Callie's current project is in Panama. Is that true or is that false? So Callie's current project is in Panama. Answers are coming in fast.
Yep.
A couple more seconds on the clock.
That's a great one.
All right. Overwhelmingly, we went with that's absolutely true. I know you mentioned Costa Rica a little bit. I'm sure you've been.
Yes, my first jobs were in Costa Rica, actually. That's where I saw my first leatherback sea turtle and absolutely fell in love and was fascinated by them and inspired to protect them.
Very cool. Oh, the magic dog has magicianed their way into first place.
Yeah.
I don't know, does that work? All right, let's go to our next question. This is a multiple choice about how many olive ridley sea turtles hatch from their nest. Was it about 50, about 100, about 200, or about 250? I know. We try to put a little challenge in there. They're definitely going with answers, though. Lots of answers, over 300 answers in already. A little more split this time, but over 159 students went with about 100. Very cool.
Another fun fact about the olive ridley is they're the most common sea turtle species.
Very cool. Okay, scoreboard. Magic Dog is still holding that spot, but the melodic possum has the highest 3 answer streak. So let's see what happens with question 4. Another true and false here. Green sea turtles are found only in the Atlantic Ocean. Is that true or is that false? Green sea turtles are found only in the Atlantic Ocean. Couple more seconds. All right, good job, crew. We know that they're found all throughout the world, throughout our oceans. And I know many people just say ocean, one big ocean. I kind of like that.
I kind of like that too.
Okay, final question here. Magic Dog and Classy Echidna are battling it out.
Things are getting serious.
I know. But the Royal Deer jumped 97 places. So let's see what happens here with our last true and false. A sea turtle can hold its breath for up to 80 minutes. If this is true, I would love that. As a scuba diver and a snorkeler, free diver, 80 minutes would be incredible.
I know, right? Can you imagine?
A lot cheaper too.
Oh, so much cheaper. That'd be so awesome.
Okay, couldn't fool most of our students. They can definitely do that. That's pretty amazing. Okay, let's look at that final podium. 3rd place, the Inspired Stork. 2nd place, the Classy Echidna. Did the Magic Dog hold on?
Wow.
There we go. Congrats, Magic Dog. And thanks to all of the students who joined in. Over 300 students jumped into the Kahoot today, which is absolutely amazing. So I'm going to come back from that screen share here. There we go. Let's close down that Kahoot. Although the music is great, we're going to get into a little Q&A action now. So I think I'm going to put Callie back in the spotlight because nobody wants to see me. They're definitely here to hang out with Callie. So there we go. Callie front and center. We've got camera classrooms. We've got YouTube classrooms. So put your questions into the chat. Say hi in the chat. I can see lots of groups already. Let's start off Let's start off with Miss Steinhoff's class. They're grade 4s. They're in Guelph, Ontario, and they're wondering the average lifespan of a leatherback.
Oh, that's a really good question. And that's something that we're actually still studying because leatherbacks are the only species of sea turtle that can't be held in captivity. And that's because they're these open ocean or pelagic species. So they migrate very large distances. And when you put them in a tank, they don't know what to do. They just keep swimming. So they'll swim into the side of the tank consistently and they can damage the front of their face. So we haven't been able to study this in captivity as maybe we would have with other species that learn to swim in circles over time. But we think between 50 and 100 years based on the live turtles that we have been able to interact with in the field or in their natural habitat. But that's still to be determined.
All right, very cool. Maybe someone in one of these classrooms is going to
figure that
answer that question for us. Yeah,
for sure. But something else about leatherbacks and related to their age, not as an individual turtle, but as a species, is that they became a species 110 million years ago.
Wow.
So dinosaurs went extinct 65 million years ago, right? And this sea turtle species has been around for 110, which means that they were around and thriving during the time of the dinosaurs. When the dinosaurs went extinct, they survived as a species and they're still here today and they're only being threatened by the human race. So we can't let that happen. We can't let them go extinct.
Absolutely. We're going to head to Canada now for a question. We've got Miss Dahl's third graders hanging out with us. Let me bring them in here front and center. Hey, third graders, how you doing?
Doing great. Serenity has a question for you, Callie.
Do turtles have teeth to chew?
Wow, that is a really awesome question. I've never gotten that one before, Serenity. Thank you for asking that. So different sea turtle species have different shaped mouths for the different type of feeding that they partake in. So, for example, the leatherback sea turtle doesn't have teeth per se, but the shape of their jaw is a little jaded, or it's cut a little bit like a knife so that they can grab onto the jellyfish that they eat and swallow them. Or the hawksbill, for example, has a beak like a hawk, which is how it got its name. And so it uses that sharp beak to scrape algae and sponges off of coral reefs and swallow them. So they have these sharp beaks and the ability to grind the food that they are eating, but they don't have teeth per se like we do.
All right. Great question.
Yeah.
Always great to get a new question I haven't had before. Very cool. Let's bring in Mrs. Moore's class from North Carolina. There they are.
Hello.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, I'm Julia. My question is, how do sea turtles eat jellyfish without getting stung?
How do they eat jellyfish? What?
Without getting stung.
Oh, without getting stung. That's another really great question. So there are some marine species, Julia, that have developed a relationship with stinging species like the jellyfish, where they don't actually either feel the sting or it doesn't bother them the same way that it would with species that didn't develop with those stinging species. So, for example, leatherbacks, I think that the type of material that they have within their mouth, it simply doesn't allow them to feel the sting of the jellyfish. They have these spikes in their throat, which I wish I had thrown a picture of up in the presentation, but it's the same material as our fingernails. So it's like a keratin material. And those spikes in their throat allow them to latch on to the slippery jellyfish and swallow the jellyfish without the jellyfish coming back up their throat. So the material, the hard material within their mouth and those spikes allow them to not have those types of soft tissues that would be vulnerable to the sting of a jellyfish.
All right, great question. Let's go back to YouTube because I can see a bunch of questions kind of lining up there. So let's pick another one here. Okay, so this is a grade 5 classroom here, and they would like to know a little bit about the diet of sea turtles. Is it pretty similar? Does it vary quite a bit?
That's a great question. So the different sea turtle species eat different things based upon their major habitat and what part of the world they're located in. So as I mentioned, leatherbacks eat jellyfish all around the world. But green sea turtle species, for example, which is another one I showed you a picture of, they eat mostly seagrass. So they spend a lot of time on seagrass beds and coral reef, and they eat vegetation. So they eat like plants. But hawksbill sea turtles, so the critically endangered species that I showed you from the Pearl Islands, they mostly eat sponges on coral reefs. So they're particularly specialized to eat that particular part of a coral reef ecosystem. And that's why they've developed those extra sharp bills or hawksbills to be able to scrape those sponges off the reef. So each sea turtle species, based upon what they eat, have developed these different characteristics that help them be really good at foraging the specific food source that they need to survive. But there are some species of sea turtle, like the loggerhead, that even eat fish and crabs and other small crustaceans. So it's very varied based upon the habitat and based upon the opportunities that are available. So sea turtles might eat something they don't prefer if that's what's available to them in the moment. It's called opportunistic feeding.
All right. We're going to go to another live classroom from grade 7 and 8s in Toronto, Ontario. Let's bring them in here. Miss Follis's group.
Hi, Olivia. Olivia would like to ask a question.
All right.
It's right there.
How do sea turtles
Move up.
How do sea turtles find their way back home?
I love that question. That's such a good question. Okay, so I actually have a few friends that are studying this right now, but basically when a sea turtle embryo develops within the sand in a nesting beach, using the location, like basically the GPS that they're developing in their brains, they know where they are within the world. And so as they leave the beach and go to find their migrating, their feeding grounds in a different part of the ocean, they use the relative location from where they were born to where they're going to be able to return. And basically, depending on where in the world the sea turtle develops or like where the nesting beach is, the sea turtles will turn within the embryos, within the nest, to face true north. So it's actually really interesting because if you manipulate the magnetic pole within the sea turtle nest, you can actually change the direction that the sea turtles are facing when they hatch, which is really, really cool. And they use that map of their relation to magnetic north to help them understand where they are within the world at all times. So it's basically like they're born with a compass that you and I don't have. It's pretty cool.
All right. Great question. So Callie's got a picture queued up here. This is a view of the last thing, I guess, jellyfish don't really see per se, but this is the last thing that they encounter, I guess.
Right, exactly. So this is what I was trying to describe earlier, what the inside of a leatherback sea turtle mouth looks like. So again, leatherbacks eat jellyfish, and so these spikes allow them to swallow that slippery prey without it coming right back out their mouth. And it also allows them to not feel that sting, like Julia asked. So
very, very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So classroom here, Miss Hurley's classroom is wondering, they're in London, and they're wondering, can you put into perspective for us? So 2,000 pounds for a leatherback. Mm-hmm. I know greens get pretty big. What would the weight of a green be compared to a leatherback?
So a green sea turtle is the second largest species of sea turtle, and they can weigh up to 500 pounds. So it's actually quite a bit smaller than a leatherback.
Absolutely.
Leatherbacks take the cake by a lot.
All right. Let's grab another question here from YouTube.
I saw a few comments. Wow, that's scary.
I mean, that could definitely inspire some horror movies. Absolutely.
Right. Or Stranger Things. I think some people were saying that the inside of a leatherback mouth looks like some of the creatures from Stranger Things.
All right. So Mr. Lowing's group would like to know an experience that really stuck with you with a sea turtle.
I love that one. So I have a funny one. There was this one time I was studying sea turtles in Costa Rica, and usually when you're working in nesting beaches in foreign countries, you're never allowed to be alone because it could be unsafe. But this particular instance, I had the opportunity to be alone with an adult sea turtle that had just finished nesting and laying her eggs. And because I didn't need to work with her, we had already finished collecting all of the data that we needed. I just sat by the shoreline. I chose a spot near the water and sat there just waiting for her to come back and return to the ocean so I could watch her, but I didn't want to invade her space. But I really had no idea where she was going to go as she returned to the ocean. and she started coming straight towards me. And she got probably within a foot of me as she was returning. And I just pretended like I was a rock and I didn't move. And on one of her exhales, I inhaled. And so I literally like inhaled the breath of this ancient dinosaur species. And let me tell you, if you can imagine what dinosaur breath smells like, it was that. It was like old fish. But I just felt like I had this really special moment with this leatherback where like I shared a breath. And I think that made me feel even more connected to the species and my cause, just to have that like intimate moment with a species that so many people never get to see. And I think that, those quiet times alone on the beach with the species have really inspired me to be their voice in public settings and at the political table, and make sure that they have the protections that they deserve to not go extinct.
All right. That sounds awesome. Let's, camera classrooms, give me a wave if you have another question. We'll try and maybe work one or two more in before we wrap up. Okay, let's go back to our third graders.
Hi. Our next question is kind of connected to the story you just shared. Kenna?
My question is, do you ever get really attached to a turtle and not want to let them go?
Yes, I think that I've had a similar moment. The first time actually that I saw a leatherback sea turtle back in 2015, about 7 years ago, I realized that we protected the species on the nesting beach. But when they leave the nesting beach, we don't have any control over what happens to them. They can get caught in fishing gear. They can consume plastic bags. And I think that almost every time I interact with one of these critically endangered turtles, I don't want to let them go because, if they're not with me on the beach, then anything could happen to them. And so I do feel that a lot.
All right. Let's check in with North Carolina. Do you have a follow-up for us, Ms. Moore's class? No pressure.
Do you know what percent of the sea turtles have been affected by the plastic? If so, what percent has been affected?
That's a really great question. I think that it would be safe to say that 100% of sea turtles have been affected by plastic in some way, shape, or form, simply because pretty much every sea turtle species that washes ashore nowadays, that we don't know the cause of death necessarily until we dissect that dead animal on the beach, has plastic within its stomach. So it has consumed either small bits of plastics, microplastics, or entire plastic bags. And many sea turtle species have just an unimaginable quantity of different types of plastic or many plastic bags within their stomach, which is causing them to either starve or simply not get the nutrients that they need to be healthy, which would lead them to be weaker and unable to escape other threats that they may be facing, like a shark attack or being entangled in a net. So, we're even finding tiny pieces of plastic within the stomachs of hatchling turtles. So the baby 4-inch long turtles are also consuming plastics. And these plastics are within the entire ocean. There's no place that a turtle can go to escape them. So even though I don't have a statistic for you on a specific study, I think it's safe to say that all sea turtles have been affected by plastic pollution.
All right. I don't think there's anywhere on our planet where you're not going to find plastic. Any ocean sample, sea ice, in the air. I mean, plastic is everywhere.
Unfortunately.
Okay, let's check in Toronto, see if they have one more question before we wrap things up today. Back to Mrs. Ballscrew.
Hi. How fast can a sea turtle swim?
That's a really great question. So from the data that I have seen, the fastest sea turtle migration has been about 33 miles a day. So if you think about, I don't know if that means a lot to a third grader, but about 33 miles a day. What's a good comparable 33-mile distance?
For our Toronto crew, maybe just under Guelph to Toronto.
Okay.
Would be, that's not great. It's about 60 some kilometers. Yeah. Yeah, so
How many football fields in a mile?
yeah, that's a good one.
How many football fields in a mile?
Let's check that. That's not very,
No, that's not really
that's not
helpful.
helping.
One square mile.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe like it's like 500 football fields a day.
Oh, no.
No, like 500 times 33.
Yeah. The best thing to do is to look up that distance. But yeah. There we go. Over 16,000 football fields.
Yeah,
There we go. That's a good measurement.
16,500 football fields a day.
Not some travel.
It's a lot of
Not some
traveling.
moving.
Yeah, it's a pretty big turtle swim.
All right. Well, Callie, we've come to that time where we have to wrap things up for our first event of the morning. We're going to be connecting with Pablo shortly in the next 11 minutes or so to talk penguins. So stick on this channel if you want to come in and join us. Let me put our banner back up here if you want to check out the site and everything that we have coming up. Yeah, a huge shout out to all of our camera classrooms. A huge shout out. Maybe I'll just switch this back for a sec. A huge shout out to all of our YouTube classrooms. Wow, so great to have you all joining in with us and playing Kahoot, sending in all those amazing questions. We hope to see you in more events coming up this week. Hope you learned a lot about sea turtles this morning. We're still going to spend some time with penguins, then octopus. We have an hour break at noon, and 1 o'clock we'll be live with Fabian Cousteau. You're not going to want to miss that event. So it's a great action-packed, jam-packed day today. Callie, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much for sharing your conservation work, the story of the sea turtles. We can't wait to see what happens in the Pearl Islands.
Thank you so much for spending time with me this morning. It was so great to meet you and share a little bit about sea turtles and what I'm working on to protect them. And I hope we have future marine biologists out there in the audience. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any more questions or would like to learn more about becoming a marine biologist.
All right, we're going to sign out for now. We'll see you in 10 minutes or so, jumping into penguins.
Happy World Oceans Week.